The topic of today's presentation is instructional design for online learning. So if you see, there are two concepts. One is instructional design as a concept, if you see, and if another concept is online. I'm sure both the concepts, all of you know, but maybe let's just revise it. Instructional design, I'll be very brief. Instructional design, again, if we break up that word, it's made up of two words, instruction as well as design. Again, instruction, all of you know, instruction, giving the instruction, what we have to do. What I was telling you that please unmute, please mute your mic, please write it. So that's what instruction, what we do. And as parents, every time we are giving instruction to our children. Is it applicable in education, even in our classrooms? Because majority of you, I'm sure, are from the formal system. Few of you are from the open and distance education system. So what in the classroom, in a formal system, what we are doing it as teachers, instruction, instruction, instruction. We just come to the classroom, we are telling the students what we are going to teach or what the concepts are. So you know instruction. So basically instruction is a step-by-step, scientific, it is again scientific, step-by-step processes or procedures, whatever you call it. The second word which is called is design. All of you, again, you know the word, the meaning of the word design. Design, all of you know about fashion designers. So what designers are doing, they are creating some very designer ties or designer suits or designer belts or designer shoes and so on and so forth. So design word is basically, it's a concept and again a scientific term. Like you see the flyovers, it's, you see a house. So when you make a design of it, I mean, you have a house built up, you create a design or you create a, जिसको हिंदी में हम कहते हैं खाका बनाना, or a blueprint. That's what basically a design is. The definition, which is a very which is, this is not again my definition, but this definition is what is instructional design. Instructional design is the systematic process by which instruction is designed, developed, and delivered. So it is only not a question of designing the instruction, it is how you are developing it and how you are delivering it. Very important. So in a classroom, if you go, how do you deliver your classroom lecture? It's simply what we see in majority of the colleges or schools or the universities. It is only one-way instruction. Teacher comes to the class, just speaks out what she or he wants to speak out, maybe at times use some PowerPoint presentations or write it down on the blackboard and so on and so forth. But designing is also very important. For example, what I have done here, I have designed few PowerPoint presentations. So this is, I developed those PowerPoint presentations and I know how to deliver it. So what instructional design as a concept is that you are systematically processing by which instruction you are designing and developing and you are delivering. Now, the whole instructional design shifted. Earlier, it used to be a concept of instructional design, which shifted to learning design. Instruction was a one-way process. I just coming, speaking here or in the classroom and saying whatever I want to say. Now, there are certain instructional design models. I will not get into the details of all those, but instructional design models, again, I'm sure each one of you know. The first one is ADDIE model. The second is Bloom. Again, those who have done education, either MA education, BEd, MEd, whatever it is, you know what Bloom's taxonomy is. You must have heard about Gaine, Robert Gaine. What is his instructional design model and Merrill. So this all was taught, those basically those who have done B.Ed and M.Ed, they must be knowing and they can recap it. But there are several other ID models which I have not taken here. That's a very, very important field to learn. So we will go with the ADDI model. So ADDI model, again, what it stands for. If graphically, if we'll say, it says the first A, analysis. Second, from analysis, we move to the design part. From the design part, we move to the development part. From development part, we move to the implementation part. And last is the evaluation part, which cut across all the other components. This is what the ADDI model is all about, is used by many instructional designers. So again, it is a field. So who designs an instruction is called an instructional designer. Who designs the learning is called a learning designer. So these days there are many jobs also, if you see the, and very important, and people, they are looking forward to it, whether in universities or in colleges or in schools or even in the private sector. The private industries, those who have come, they are looking for these instructional designers or the learning designers. But the most important instructional design model, which is being used by world over, not only in India, world over, to design instruction, is the ADDI model, which is has mainly 5 components, and the acronym is the ADDI. Now let's go very briefly with what ADDI stands for. First is analysis, and what is analysis? Analysis, the first part is, here what we do is we do 2 types of analysis. One is the need analysis and second is the learner analysis. What comes under the need analysis is, what is the problem? Again, if I see online education, if I relate to all these ADI examples, the model to the online education examples, what is the problem? That's what it is. Why do I want a course on, let's say, instructional design, an online course on instructional design, if you want to develop a course on SWAM, on how to design and develop a course for SWAM? This is the problem. So first you do a need analysis, which all of you must be doing it. What is the need and is there a solution needed? So that's what under analysis, what you do, which is a general thing. What you do, then the second component, the second point under the analysis is the learner analysis. Who is going to take your course? This point becomes very relevant in open education system. In a formal system, you are not doing a learner analysis. For a BA history course in any university or in any college, a student will be, your learner will be who has done 12th grade, has certain marks, maybe some 50%, maybe 40%, maybe 80%, will depend upon which college he or she goes. But learner analysis is importantly done in the open university system, that who is your learner, who wants to take this course? Who is this course for? Your characteristics of your learner, whether they have laptops, which background they come from, whether they are digitally sound. These are the characteristics of the learners which you have to find out. In a traditional open and distance education system or in a traditional formal system, you know the characteristics of a learner who comes to a class. You know that students in your classroom, maybe they are in the range of 50 to 60%. You know they are either male, female. You know which background they come from. So all those things, characteristics of learners, you know. What you do, another second point on the learner analysis is that you have to identify the content, your instructional strategies, what examples you are going to use, which language you want to develop the course. So basically earlier what we were doing is online courses were developing in Hindi and English, but these days I think many universities, they have started offering their courses in the regional languages. So that's very important. So analysis component, what we do is we do the 2 aspects, the need analysis, which covers two things. What is the problem? What is the need? and what is the solution, and the learner analysis. Another important point is under the analysis part is your task analysis and your context analysis. Task analysis is what is critical for the design part of it, design phase. Design phase is the next part, the design. ADDI, when we said, A is analysis, second is design. So what you do under the task analysis, you identify the activities that the learner performs. What are the various tasks, you have to find it out. And then you would see how you incorporate this in the next phase, that is the design phase. Context analysis is another important analysis part of it. You examine the conditions, how it is done. Now, the second part is of the ADDI model is the design part. So under the design part, what are the various things we see? We see when we design it. So if I give a simple design, if I have to design a table, a simple example, day-to-day life, which we look at it. If we have to design a table, what we see whether we want a rectangular, we want a square, what should be the height of it, what material we will be using it, and so on and so. Whether it is a study table, whether it is a dining table, or whatever table. So when we design that, we keep certain things in mind. In education, if you have to design your learning, when you are designing your instruction, what points you keep it in mind? You keep it in mind, first point is the knowledge of the learner, right? You develop the learning outcomes. So the second important point in the design, under the design aspect, is you develop the learning outcomes. You structure your learning activities. When you are designing certain thing, you are designing the learning. Before only you structure your learning activities, that what activities you will give to the students by which they will learn. Very, very important point. You design your assessment. So all these things have to be done prior to the next stage, which we'll call it a developmental stage. You design it. And I'm simple using an example of which all of us we know in day-to-day life. I gave just one example of when you're designing a table, or a simple when we are constructing a house, that every minute things the contractor or the builder or whosoever is design, put it in a blueprint. So in learning, what you do is you design the assessment, you review the design components. So once everything is done, you know the knowledge level of the learners, you develop the learning outcomes, activities, assessment. Finally, what you do is you review the design components. So all these points come under the design component. From here, we move to the next part of it, that is the development part of it. Under development, again, what do? Once the design is ready, you start developing. तब क्या होगा? घर बनाना जब शुरू करेंगे, टेबल बनाना जब शुरू करेंगे, so you will all construct that part of it. So development under when you are doing it, you will list down the activities for your target audience. You will select the most appropriate media. You will select what is the instructional aids using. You validate the material and you develop those resources. So that is the development part of it. How do you develop it? These are again will be very useful not only in your online education, because today's theme is online education. You are all learning. The objective of your participating in this FTP is how you are going to create SWAM courses, or how do you are going to create larger online courses. So that's part of it. But even in your formal system, you will see it will be very helpful to learn and understand these various components. So the third is the development component. From development component, we move on to the implementation part. Implementation is when I come to the classroom in a formal system, I speak out what the content is by using PPT or charts or Blackboard, or doing certain experiments if it is a science subject, and so on and so forth, which was already decided under the development area, under the development part of it. Now there is implementation part. So you provide a document, you prepare a document, you prepare the learning environment, it is delivered, the lesson is delivered, and you prepare a schedule. So these all points comes under the implementation part. And the last is under the ADDI model is, as you all know, E stands for evaluation. Again, I don't want to get into the detail because all of you know evaluation is formative evaluation, summative evaluation. In a classroom, how do you do a formative evaluation? In university or colleges, how do you do summative evaluation? If it is open and distance education system, our learning material, what is formative evaluation there? What is summative evaluation there? Now the question is, how do you do evaluation? An important aspect in online course development. That's the important part. And there, once you decide that you have to launch an online course, all these components will come into it. It's not that मैंने आज सोच लिया कि मैंने एक कोर्स बनाना है on BA history, let's say for example, just an example, तो मैं फटाफट उसको रिकॉर्ड करना शुरू कर दूंगी, क्या मटेरियल चाहिए and so on and forth. It has to be a complete framework, a blueprint before you design that course. That's very, very important part of it. So the summary of this ADDI model is, it's the most accepted model world over, not only in India, world over it is most accepted model. Purpose of analysis phase is to collect information. Detailed outline is prepared in the design phase. Under the developmental stage, design document or a guide is prepared. Under the implementation stage, it is based on the design, this part of it, and launch is done, and evaluation phases to provide the feedback. So I hope this ADDI model in very brief time is explained and you have little bit of understanding. Another instructional design model is Guyne's classification. This is Guyne's classification, very, very important, specifically for a face-to-face classroom. Now think, see this figure which is on your screens, see this figure and relate it to your face-to-face classroom. What do you do when you go to a classroom? How do you design it? So first and the foremost part and the lowest level is that you try to gain attention of your students, right? So you will go do something, schools, something, or adults, as adult teachers, you will do something. Second part, from gain attention, you will move on to, you will inform learners of the objectives. My information or what I have seen, in face-to-face, we don't do this part. We don't inform the learners of our objectives. In open and distance education system, the learning material says. In online education, definitely the learning objectives are shared with the students. So this is what the next step is, you design that. Third is stimulate recall of prior learning. All of you know. Next is you present certain stimulus material. You provide learners guidance. You elicit certain performance, some skill things you will do. Feedback, which is the evaluation of the ADDI model. Assess performance, again, evaluation of the ADDI model. And the last is enhance retention and transfer. So the ADDI model, what was different, and Robert Guyne gave this model, which is majority of the time used in the classroom instruction. How much do we use as teachers? We have to ask ourselves, right? Many a times teachers, they don't use it. They just come to the classroom. They repeat the same instruction which was done 4 years back or 2 years back or in the last semester. They don't prepare for the class. There are few teachers like that. But there are other teachers also, those who really work hard to go to the classroom, to present the concepts, to present the content, and all these points, knowingly or unknowingly, they are doing it. You can relate these things now. So this was Guyne's instructional design model. Again, I repeat, unconsciously, all of we are doing it, but we never knew. Maybe today you learned about it, that this is the way to design an instruction. Very important saying, and again, this is from Van Patten, way back in 1989, he had written, almost 10, 30 years, almost 30 years back, he wrote, and I quote, whereas physicians engineer health, and you are clear, and we have seen this in the pandemic time. All doctors, they are what they are doing is they are engineering health. Architectures engineer space, how to create a good building. Instructional designers engineer human performance. This is very, very important because whole human development performance depends upon the instructional designers, and that's what we teachers we are. And now I'm sure you will understand that why it is so much of importance, the instructional design concept.